Welcome to Routing for Success, the show where we interview today's top logistics professionals, giving them a platform to share their stories and best practices. Today we are talking with Alex Frum. Alex is a linehaul contractor via his company Alpha Kilo Logistics, which operates 30 over-the-road trucks for FedEx Ground. In this episode, we discuss Alex's professional background, first in the military and then on Wall Street as a fixed-income trader, some reasons he felt attracted to the business of FedEx Ground Linehaul contracting, and of course, some tips for how to run a successful operation. I am pleased to bring you Alex Frum.
Notes, right?
Yeah. So we're here with Alex Frum, Alpha Kilo Logistics, FedEx Ground Linehaul contractor, and also a co-founder of the Linehaul Summit. Alex, thanks for sitting down with me.
No problem. I'm looking forward to it.
So the Routing for Success podcast, conversations with FedEx Ground contractors. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your background before you ever got into this business?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 1997 graduate of the United States Military Academy. Spent 5 years on active duty, stationed mostly in Europe. Did a couple deployments. Got out, worked on Wall Street for 15 years. Got tired of Wall Street, and then bought my first 4 runs in 2000 or 5 years ago in Memphis, and have grown to 30 trucks now and 26 routes.
You went from Wall Street to being a FedEx contractor. How did you even hear about the business?
You know, it was kind of funny. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up in life, and realized that, while I loved working on Wall Street, I was looking for something different. And, I realized that, when I was in the Army, I really loved working in logistics. I had managed a couple deployments. So I was trying to figure out, how do I get into that logistics space? Started looking at P&D, and P&D actually scared the crap out of me, which is funny. And so I started looking at Linehaul, and started talking to a couple contractors in Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time, and they gave me some suggestions about, like the basics. I had a call with Spencer Patton. I had a couple calls with some other guys to learn more about the Linehaul space, and everybody kept trying to warn me away, saying Linehaul is really dangerous and really challenging and really scary, and P&D is the place to start off, and this never seemed like it to me. Like, Linehaul just made a lot of sense to me, and so I bought 4 runs.
Why did they say that Linehaul was scary and you should stay away? It seems much simpler on the surface,
I think
right?
it's much more simpler. I think back then it was just the capital outlay. Like, Linehaul businesses trade at or cost a lot more money to invest in. When you have a catastrophic event in a Linehaul space, it's much more expensive. Workers' comp is the salaries that you're paying is higher. The cost of the trucks is higher. So you have to be somebody that's well capitalized really to get into that business. Because when you're thinking about it, even 5 years ago when I was getting into the business, a truck cost $125,000. 5 years ago when you were looking at a step van, you might have been paying $35,000 or $40,000.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And when a step van gets in an accident, it's going 2 miles an hour in reverse. When a Cascadia gets in an accident, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I like to tell my friends, like, my biggest concern is that I have an 80-ton missile heading down the highway at 65 miles an hour, and when it gets into an accident, it kills people. So
how many trucks are you up to today?
So I have 30 trucks located in northern Kentucky, out of the Noki terminal in Independence, Kentucky, Memphis, Tennessee, and Olive Branch, Mississippi.
30 trucks. And how are those distributed between dedicated, wild, and just backup trucks?
So I have 20 dedicated runs, 6 unassigned runs, and 4 spares. I have 20 solos, and 6 teams. And then, I have my 4 spares that I use as anything from running in wild to doing spots to just being a backup truck. Like, I actually right now need all my spares because I actually have 4 trucks down for maintenance.
Is that pretty common?
No, I rarely have 4 trucks down at the same time. It just seems like it's a perfect storm. I have a truck awaiting a 1 box, which is the DPF system. It's probably one of the most expensive components on a truck. I have another tractor that's down for a wiring harness that controls the central bus to manipulate all the lights on the tractor. And then I have just 2 tractors down for just regular maintenance issues that are just getting repaired. Usually my tractors are down for a day or 2, so the 2 tractors that are just went down are going to be back up tomorrow. But I have 2 tractors that are going to be down for a little bit while longer. One box only takes 18 hours to replace, but it's not always, the dealers might not always have one, so it could take a couple days to get one. The wiring harnesses, there's a shortage right now.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit and talk a little bit about what attracted you to the FedEx Ground Contractor business. But you had mentioned that you had a Wall Street background. What was your actual job when you were
So
working
I
for Wall
actually
Street?
traded mortgages and agency debt when I worked on Wall Street. So I was there during the financial crisis. I was a fixed income trader. I really come from the background of looking at the world through a fixed income lens, which means that you're always looking for consistent cash flows and then being able to model those cash flows back to present value. And so when you look at line haul, the attractive thing about being in a FedEx contractor, whether you're on P&D or line haul, is you have the consistency of the cash flows. You know that your cash flow is always going to be there every week, week in, week out. You're going to get paid on Friday. And so when you go to a bank and you can say, hey, I have no accounts receivable because I get paid on time every Friday, it gives you a lot of power when you're trying to negotiate financing levels with a bank. And at the end of the day, what makes the business attractive is the fact that you can put a lot of leverage onto a FedEx contractor and be able to have a really good return on your investment.
So that answers my question, I think, which is, how do you go from, white collar Wall Street background doing fixed income trading to becoming a FedEx contractor? One of the things I've had other contractors tell me that is desirable about the business is the consistency of cash flow, especially with something like a line haul dedicated run, where it's going from point A to point B and back to point A over and over again. Is that it? Was that it?
Yeah, I mean, it's on a dedicated run, it's really attractive, especially if you have. Okay, so now we're going to get into the weeds a little bit. So on a line haul runs, there are you have dedicated runs, and then they're numbered or they're tiered. Okay, so if you have the number one run, that means that run is always going. It's the first one out to going to its location, and it's never going to get cut. Now, if you have the number 6 run going to a location, so say I have the number 1 Chicago, the number 1 Chicago leaves at 4 a.m. every day of the week, and it goes out, and I get 600 miles every single day. I get 4,200 miles a week. Like clockwork, I don't have any worries about it. So unless I decline to run, unless I can't provide a driver or a tractor, I know what those miles are going to be. I know what my cash flows are going to be. Now, if I have the number 6 run, it might get cut once or twice a week. So the consistency is less, but there's still a fair amount of consistency that you can model into it. And so that's really attractive. I know that I'm going to be somewhere between 70 and 85,000 miles a week. And that's very little variance in my business, in the grand scheme of things. You might think, oh, 15,000 miles is a lot, but that 15,000 miles, by and large, is my decision about why I'm getting that variance, because I'm making declines or I might not have tractors available. But if I'm running full bore 100% and I'm dispatching all 30 tractors of mine, I'm running 85,000 miles a week. Now, I actually tend to not run that because it puts a lot of wear and tear on my vehicles. And there's a cost analysis that I do to determine like how often I want to replace my vehicles. How often do I want to go to an AP Finance or an REL or a Freightliner or a Volvo dealer to replace my tractors? And I'm trying to maximize the life of my vehicles because I have a vehicle that I'm hoping to utilize for 850 or 900,000 miles.
You hang on to them for that long.
If I take care of them. Yeah.
So I know a lot of not just line haul contractors for FedEx Ground, but over the road trucking companies in general. I see it all the time where they'll invest in a brand new truck and then they'll trade it out when it gets to, 400,000 miles. Why? You obviously have a different philosophy on that. You're hanging on to the trucks for a longer period of time.
Well, I mean, part of it's doing that math and understanding how much can you monetize at that vehicle, right? So if I have a tractor that cost me $150,000 and I'm only planning on using it for 5 years, then that cost of that vehicle roughly is, I'm monetizing $30,000 every year of the life of the vehicle. So that means that cost to operate for that year is $30,000 on top of the maintenance costs and the fuel costs. I have to cover in that calculation. So for me, like if I can monetize it over 7 years or 8 years, then that cost to own that vehicle lowers and my per mile profit expands.
So what would be the argument to only hang on to a truck for 2 years?
Well, so my team trucks is a different story, right? there's concerns about what you're doing with your tractor. If I know my tractors are coming back every single night and I can look at the maintenance every single night of the vehicle, then I'm not as worried about carrying that tractor into 850,000 or 900,000 miles, because realistically, what fails on a tractor at that point, where my concerns are with a tractor that 850,000 miles, is the engine failing or the DPF system failing. That transmission is good to go. The warranty on a transmission is generally 750,000 miles, but I've never replaced a transmission, and I've run my tractors up to 1.25 million miles. So I'm not worried about that. The frame is, I've seen vehicles on the market that from 2002, they're still running as a solid frame. So what you're really worried at this point, if you're running a vehicle beyond 750, is the engine and the DPF system. Now, we know that DPF systems usually break down around 600,000 miles, and you're going to start replacing them at that point. So then you plan that into your revenue stream and to your expenses to understand where, what is the cost to operate that vehicle. Now, my team truck is going out and it's going across the country and it's not coming back every night. So I can't have eyes on it and take care of it and make sure that the maintenance is getting done appropriate. So for my concerns there is I want to have that vehicle under warranty. So I'm going to run it. So I buy my team trucks. I buy them with a 5-year, 600,000 mile warranty. I'm not going to run them for 5 years unless I decide to trade it down into a solo truck. But I want that 600,000 mile warranty because I can put 300,000 miles on a truck in 1 year. If I'm running 5,500 miles a week, that tractor's approaching 300,000 miles a year. So I need that warranty work, because when I have a breakdown in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, I want the peace of mind that I can take it to a Freightliner dealer or a Kenworth dealer or a Volvo dealer and get the repair. And that because I own this truck and I bought it new, I can call corporate and they can put an emphasis with that dealership there, even if it's not my home dealership.
Do you buy strictly new trucks?
No, I don't. I buy strictly new trucks for teams. For my solo runs, I look at the market, and if I can buy a tractor with an OEM aftermarket warranty, so I don't buy a Premium 2000 warranty or the Premium 2000. There's a couple different aftermarket warranty companies. I don't want that. But if I can buy a Detroit assurance warranty, or I can buy a Volvo pre-owned warranty, which is kind of like you buying a BMW pre-owned warranty, then I'll do that, because I can get a 3-year, 300,000 mile warranty. And on a solo truck, that's a pretty powerful warranty to have, because you can buy a $400,000 truck, pay maybe $40,000 or $50,000 on it, know that you're going to get 3 years out of that vehicle under warranty, and your cost of ownership is really low at that point.
That's interesting. So, when a lot of people talk about the trade-offs between buying a brand new truck or a used truck, one of the main things to consider is, well, if you buy a used truck, it's going to potentially break down more often, just because they do that as they get higher in mileage. So you have loss of use, but also they're expensive to fix. These are big trucks. They're very expensive to fix. So, but one way that you can mitigate that is you're looking for good deals on used trucks and then buying not a third-party warranty, but the manufacturer. If the manufacturer itself, if you got a Volvo truck and you can buy a Volvo warranty, that'll help mitigate some of that risk.
I'll pay the extra $6,000 or $5,000 it might cost to get that warranty. Now it extends. I just can't walk into a shop and buy that truck then, because I actually go through a process by Detroit or by Volvo to get certified to qualify for that warranty. And it costs about $5,000 or $6,000 on top of the purchase price. But trust me, you blow a one box and it pays for it in a heartbeat, because a one box is a $17,000 replacement. And if you run that truck to 600,000 miles, you're probably going to replace a one box.
I've heard people describe that there's a few pillars in this business of being a FedEx Ground contractor that you have to focus on each one to be successful, right? You've got trucks, you've got recruiting,
Yep.
You've got safety,
Yep.
You've got operational efficiency, especially these days, you could probably put relations with FedEx
Yes,
in there too. What are some things you feel like you do particularly well?
So I feel like what I've done really well is get to understand the FedEx systems really well. So I'm I really believe in understanding the contract and making sure that FedEx operates under the contract. Don't get me wrong, the contract is massively in FedEx's favor, but we have certain protections on the contract, and you need to make sure that FedEx is following those contracts. Like, they just can't unilaterally take away your contract. They can't unilaterally take away your runs. They can't unilaterally say, we're gonna take away your run and give it to somebody else. They can't use other types of power to place your run. So understanding what rights you have under your contract is really important. I really understand the safety results summary and safety results indicator, and know why it's so important and how it impacts your ability to win growth runs and win unassigned runs and grow that way. I'm really good on finance. I'm not a trucker. I'm not a truck driver, but I I have really strong managers who I delegate a lot of authority to, and I empower a lot to be my man on the ground to enforce the way that Alpha Kilo does business. And we have a standard operating procedure. This is how we onboard all our drivers. This is how we hook up. This is how we do our dolly. This is how we do our safety chains. This is how we do our pre-trip inspection. This is how we do our post-trip inspection. And these are all things that we've worked through over the years with our managers to make sure that, they follow these procedures, and then they instruct our drivers to do the same. So when we have an accident, my drivers know to open up their tractor file, their tractor book, and follow the procedures there of what to do in an accident, of where we want the pictures taken, of what information we want to collect from the person involved in the accident, how we want to communicate with the DOT officer who comes to investigate the accident, who needs to get notified, and how do we notify them, and what information is provided in those situations.
How did you figure all that out? I mean, coming from the banking background, Wall Street background, was it all trial and error, or how did you?
Some of
How
it's
did you
trial
learn?
and error. Some of it's talking to other contractors. Some of it's outright thievery of ideas. You know, um, Accident procedures I got from I took a class from a safety provider, and he handed out these little business cards with 8 steps safety procedure. And so I just expanded upon that. My managers, we talked about what do we've talked about our orientation program and just trial and error and say, this is what we want our managers to teach. Onboarding, I actually hired a lady from FedEx to be my HR manager. And she said, well, this is what we need to have from the FedEx side. So why don't we just provide the same thing from our side? So it's just stuff like that.
What are some other weaknesses that you think you have? You had mentioned that you don't know how to fix a truck. So if I handed you a wrench, you'd probably have no idea what to do with
I'm
it.
pretty handy.
I'm in that
Yeah.
boat too. If you put me under a truck with a wrench, I would have no clue what to
Definitely
do.
pretty handy. I don't know. I'm not a diesel mechanic, and I don't know how to, do anything in a truck. I've learned a lot. And I spend a lot of time learning about trucks, but, you know, I don't know. I would say the biggest weakness I have is I get really frustrated when I have a breakdown in the middle of nowhere, and I have to use I have to use somebody other than a mechanic that I know and well and trust. I have a problem trusting foreign mechanics, not as in foreign as in like somebody from Mexico or Canada, as foreign as in it's a mechanic that's not from my home base. Like, I've worked really hard to develop relationships with mechanics in Memphis and in Olive Branch and in Northern Kentucky, and I trust them. They know that I'm going to pay them on time, and they take care of me. They're not going to try to pull one over me. But like I said, I have a truck that breaks down in Champaign, Illinois. I'm really nervous about getting a mechanic to work on my truck out there. It's gotten to the point that at times I will pay the extra fees to tow that tractor back to my home base. Now, if it's under warranty, I don't care. If a tractor's under warranty or it breaks down, I'll just take it right into a shop. I don't care. But if I have a truck that's out of warranty and breaks down in a bad location, I'm really nervous about using a mechanic that I don't know and trust.
What are some things about the business that kind of surprised you, either pleasantly or unpleasantly?
I think the turnover, I mean, I was always surprised at how much turnover there is. Like, I take great pride in trying to take care of my drivers, and your drivers you'll be amazed at the loyalty that you get from your drivers if you take care of them and treat them with respect. But I feel like I have 44 drivers, and I'm constantly trying to recruit those last like 4 to 6 drivers. Like, there's just a constant turnover there. And no, and so it's frustrating because I feel like I run a good business. I feel like I treat my drivers with respect. and they know that I care about them and take care of them, but I can't get to being 100%. It's just frustrating. Um, but I really enjoy working with my drivers. I really love talking to them and trying to make them understand, like, my goal is, is to create a better lifestyle for myself, but also create a better lifestyle for them. You know, and so I try to teach them, like, I have a 401k program. I encourage every single one of my driver to participate in my 401k program. And I explain to them why contributing $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a year, what it's going to mean in 30 years for them. I have a healthcare program, not because I'm required to, but because I want to, because having your drivers utilize a healthcare program and not going to the emergency room for any, doctor's visit that they need saves them money and prevents them from going into bankruptcy. Because if you have a common cold and you go to the emergency room, you get stuck with a $3,000 bill. You have a common cold and you go to a doctor, you might have a $50 copay. It's a big deal to those drivers. So, I care about my employees. I have guys that have been with me, either me or my predecessor company since 2005. That's a pride and joy of mine that they've been around with me that long.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had another very reputable contractor recently, and he told me, Ryan, you know who you need to get on the podcast? You need to find someone who's really doing well with recruiting, and even more specifically with retention. If you could find a contractor who is just knocking it out of the park with retaining their drivers, that will be the best podcast episode ever. And so I asked him, I'm like, well, hey, you're, this person who's telling me this, I'm like, you're very well connected. Who should I talk to? And he's like, I have no idea. I can't name a single person, man. It's tough.
So I do a lot for retention. I do everything from, I host parties. Like I'm about to go to Cincinnati in 3 weeks. We're going to go axe throwing with all my drivers. It's a different thing. They all wanted to go-karting, and I'm not real big into, I actually cannot stand the smell of diesel in a enclosed space. So I was like, I'm not doing that, but I'll do the axe throwing. And they're all excited about going axe throwing. I give them swag every year. So every summer they get something that says Alpha Kilo on it. This year we're doing rain jackets. Last year we did hoodies. The year before that we did cold weather jackets. Every year after peak, I buy all my drivers 2 T-bone steaks and 4 pounds of ground beef, just as a thank you, and they love it. I get tons of pictures from my drivers showing me of them eating this meal with their families after peak. And so it's not Omaha steaks. We actually order from this place called Blue Star Beef, which is it's actually a FedEx customer. So I'm helping out the FedEx ecosystem, but also taking care of my drivers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So on the subject of driver retention, though, you said that's still the most difficult thing. I mean, you're doing, it really sounds like you're going above and beyond. I mean,
yeah, I
you're
go
doing a lot
above
of
and
great
beyond.
stuff.
I try to take care of my drivers. I mean, like I said, I have teams that have been with me for 5 years now. I have solo drivers that have been with me for over 20 years. Even though, I've only been in the business for 5, the predecessor companies, and we just try to take care of them. I think what shows you that I'm doing well is that drivers will leave me. And as long as they leave me in good conditions, like they give me their 2-week notice, then we have a good leaver policy where they can come back. And I get a lot of drivers who will go explore, like they think greener pastures. They'll leave me for an extra penny or two and pay per mile, or they'll leave me because something. But I get a lot of guys who come back. Or I'll get guys who just like go through a situation where, like, I had a driver leave me because he wanted to go home to take care of his grandmother. His grandmother got sick. He said, I need to go home and take care of her. So he went home and took care of her. 6 months later, he came back, left me on good. He told me what happened. I'm like, look, your family's more important than the job any day of the week. So come back, when you're ready. And he came back. So
sounds like you're really investing in your people. So one of the things I think that gets told to people coming into this business a lot is that it can be a hands-off business, right? Like you could invest and become a FedEx contractor, and the business kind of runs itself. It doesn't demand a lot of your time. what would you say to what degree is that
I
true?
think everybody's looking for the golden goose that's laying these eggs. That's mailbox money. There's no such thing. I mean, at least in the FedEx world, there's no mailbox money. Like every morning I get up, and I turn on Omnitrax and I check where my tractors are. I look at my Lytics, and then I call my managers and we talk about the challenges that they faced either overnight or during the day or this morning, and that I need to get involved in. And then, if things are running smoothly, then I do my little bit of work that I have to do to run my operation. There's days that I'm spending more time, and there's days I'm spending less time in the business. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pulling FedEx 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Like I probably work 4 hours a day on my FedEx business. And then I do my side hustles. Like you said, I mean, I have a consulting business where I consult with other contractors, helping them learn how to be better operators in the FedEx ecosystem, training their managers, helping them understand recruiting or how to do tractor files, or safety is a big one I do a lot of. Or I'm working on the Linehaul Summit, or I'm trying to come up with new ideas, how to make another dime in the business. I'm always trying to hustle.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the Linehaul Summit, let's talk about that. What's the name of your consulting and training business?
So my consulting company, or my business outside of Alpha Kilo, is called LGL Capital.
LGL Capital.
Yeah,
Okay.
LGL Capital. It's all word of mouth. I actually consult with like 3 or 4 potential and current contractors right now on a regular basis. And I'm helping them either like evaluate businesses or run more efficiently, or how to grow and expand their business within FedEx universe. I helped a contractor just recently stand up. So I'm doing that. And then on the Linehaul Summit side, I started the Linehaul Summit because I wanted to be, how to give back and how to make everybody a better operator. So the thing about the FedEx network in Linehaul is that depending on how well you operate has an impact on how well I operate. So if I know I'm meeting a contractor that's efficient and safe, then my drivers are going to be not waiting at the bump for their driver. They're not going to be waiting at the bump for their trailers. And they know that somebody's actually doing their pre-trip inspections on those trailers. So there's probably less maintenance issues. And so they're happier and having a better experience. The packages are arriving more on time. It's just a better all-around experience. So FedEx doesn't give you an operator's manual. Everything is learning on the job. And
That's crazy to me. I mean, so, FedEx is very strict. I mean, if you show up and you're a contractor and you're not meeting the very specific requirements in terms of performance and safety, customer service, not so much on the line haul side, but certainly on the pick and delivery side, you get penalized very aggressively from FedEx, and they'll take away your contract. If you have too many, you get an OTC, and then that's it. But on the other hand, they don't teach you how to do it. They expect that you already know how to do it.
So it's kind of funny. They don't give you any training on it. All the information is available on My Ground Biz or on my Biz account, but it's really hard to find. And so unless you know what to look for, it's really challenging to find the information that you need. So the Linehaul Summit for me and Tim, at least, and to a certain extent for John Haldy and Flynn Holbrook, is we wanted to provide a train-the-trainer model. So Tim and I both come from the military. I'm ex-Army. He's a Navy guy. I know he's a Navy guy, but he's not that bad of a guy, honestly. So we in the Army and the Navy, they do train the trainer. So you have somebody who becomes a subject matter expert, and then his job is to go train everybody else in your unit, in your fleet, in your squadron. And so that's what we're trying to do. So like I happen to be a subject matter expert on SRS and SRI. So I give classes on that at the Linehaul Summit. Tim's really good with software. He's really good on, he has a very unique way of creating his infrastructure to how to manage his 50 trucks. He has a different take on it than I do, and he's really good at that. He's, so there's different strengths. And so we try to get, subject matter experts from different areas within the Linehaul community to give classes and say, this is not the only way to do this, but this is a really good way. And that it will make you more efficient. It'll make you better operator. It'll help you save more money or generate higher earnings.
So the Line Haul Summit, there's going to be people listening or watching this interview. When and where can they find more info on that?
So if you go to the linehaulsummit.com, we are hosting it next summer. We just actually had our summit, and AP Finance was there with us. And that was in Dallas the last weekend of June. This year is going to be earlier because it was 103, I think, when we were in Dallas this last time, wasn't it?
I wasn't there personally
Oh,
myself.
Emily was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Emily was there.
Emily was there. But we're going to be in Irving Convention Center June 12th through the 14th next summer. If you go to the linehaulsummit.com, you can buy early bird registration for it. If you're a vendor looking to participate, we're always looking for partners to help us teach and educate the line haul community. I don't think a lot of people understand there's about 17,000 line haul tractors on the road at any one given point in time. So we are the largest private fleet in the United States. We're bigger than Swift. We're bigger than Knight. We're bigger than Schneider. We're bigger than JB Hunt. So it's a big footprint out there. 17,000 tractors on the road at any one given point in time.
And there's a lot of educational resources, different live in-person events that people can attend. What would you say separates the Line Haul Summit from all the other options that are out there for people wanting to learn and improve their business?
So I think the biggest thing that separates us is that you're getting a very wide distribution of contractors from across the country. We have representatives from all 26 hubs, all different regions. I think we hit 40 out of the 48 continental United States this last summit, coming in to share their experiences, share their knowledge, and help grow the footprint and help make contractors better. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of vendors that are going to be there trying to sell their services, but I look at it as that you cannot be a successful contractor without our vendor partners. I can't do everything. Like, I utilize Flint Holbrook for my IVMRs. I happen to use John Haldy to do my payroll. I work with Tim Goff on my ground force. There are a lot of different vendors out there: Omnitrax, Lytics, Ground Cloud, Redirect, Realm Health. There are so many different vendors out there that help contractors. And don't look at it as them trying to take your money. They're there to help you become more efficient and be better operators. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, but it's not easily found. And so the Line Haul Summit is that one opportunity where you can learn how to be better in your business, how to hire better managers, how to make your managers operate more efficiently, how to provide better service and better availability to FedEx. And then for yourself, how do you grow your business? How do you generate higher margins? How do you expand your footprint within the FedEx ecosystem?
So turning it back to your fleet real quick, just kind of rapid fire, what are the different technology and systems and products that you use in your business? Talking about payroll processing, vetter systems, or any other safety technology. I guess you don't have route tracking, probably, like the pickup and delivery side. What technology stacks are you using?
So I happen to actually use ADP for my payroll. I used to be a Paychex user. I like both of their systems. I think the most important thing that you're looking for in a payroll provider is making sure that they're taking care of all your regulatory and your tax notices and making sure that you're not making mistakes. Because as a contractor, as a line haul guy, I'm not an expert on how to pay taxes in Kentucky. And I definitely don't know how to pay taxes in Denton County versus Erlanger County versus, whatever county this guy lives and that guy lives in. So I need a payroll provider that can take care of that stuff. I use Commercial Insurance Associates. They're a huge partner of mine to do workers' comp and non-trucking auto liability and my EPLI. I happen to be an Omnitrax user. There is not a good solution to your ELD, your electronic logging device. FedEx only has two providers out there. It's either Trimble or Omnitrax, and neither of them are good. Omnitrax just happens to be what more drivers are comfortable with. So it's more familiar to them. On the camera side, I use Lytics because I happen to have a really strong relationship with Lytics. I know other people prefer Ground Cloud. I just happen to prefer Lytics. I really love their the user interface online. Um, and even though, and I happen to have good, positive customer relationship experiences with them. Christina Gibson is amazing at Lytics. So if you're a Lytics user, reach out to her. Now safety technology, I think, is a big one. I'm an early adopter of safety technology. My fleet is 100% FCAM compliant, which means that all my trucks have the forward collision and avoidance and mitigation system. And over the last 2 years, I've started acquiring trucks or equipping them with something called Blind Spotter or Side Radar. It's a sonar system that sits on the side of your tractor on the cab, and tells your driver if there is a vehicle in their blind spot. So the number one cause of accidents in the FedEx system right now for on the line haul side is side swipes. I went through experience where I had 3 consecutive side swipes, and I started looking for technology that was going to help prevent my drivers from having that. So all my new trucks come with lane keep assist, which is instead of a lane departure warning system, which gives you a warning that if you're drifting out of your lane, lane keep assist actually makes sure that your vehicle stays inside its lane. It's kind of like the rumble strip, like when you're driving your personal vehicle, like it kind of like rumbles your seat and tells you like, no, 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 don't go over this line. So it's the same kind of thing for tractor trailers. And then we have the what we call a blind spotter, or I think Bendix calls it Wingman Fusion, and it just tells you if there's vehicles in your blind spot. And I'm a big fan of that. Now, if I was doing a lot of spots, I'd probably get a backing sonar or a backing cameras. I've seen a lot of contractors who do a lot of spots have a like a rear view looking camera, so it makes it a little bit easier for them to back into tight spots. But I don't do a lot of spots. I'm 100% pure line haul.
Last question, I think. This is a little abstract. What would be your number one tip for line haul contractors to be successful the rest of this year and next year in 2024?
The biggest thing is you want to get to a point where you're working on your business, or you have your business working for you, not working in your business. You need to learn to delegate to and empower your managers, so that you can look at how to grow. FedEx is going through a period right now where there's going to be a rapid amount of growth because of this FedEx One initiative. So I don't know what's going on the P&D side. On the line haul side, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to take over FedEx Freight and FedEx Express business. So you need to be able to empower your managers so that you can focus on the big picture of like saying, how do I go from 5 trucks to 7 trucks? How do I take my 7 trucks to 12 trucks? Or if you happen to be in that 12 to 15 range, how do I double my fleet size?
Alex, anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
You know, I want to know how you manage, like, how long of a commute is it from Bend, Oregon to Portland to fly then to Vegas? I mean, what is it, like a 6-hour drive from Bend, Oregon to Vegas?
All right. So Bend, Oregon does have an airport, but it's in a very small private airport.
Right.
So if you own a
It's beautiful
Cessna
there,
or a
yeah.
private jet, otherwise, we're flying out of Redmond, Oregon, which is about
Okay.
25 minutes north. All the major airlines fly out of there. So I drive 25 minutes to the Redmond airport, and then I fly 45 minutes north to Seattle, and then I fly to Vegas. That's how it works. Yeah, it's what I got to do. That's the
Okay.
price you pay for living in a beautiful utopia like Bend,
Yeah.
Oregon.
So are you a fly fisherman? Are you a mountain biker, or are you a hunter?
Oh
Or just
man,
a hiker?
I'm none of them. I'm a California boy who just immigrated up to Bend, so I'm
And
still yet to
you have
catch
no
on.
hobbies yet?
So I ski, snowboard,
Right.
wakeboard. If I can get one of my buddies to take me out on their boat. I play guitar, and I like playing cards. I like playing poker, which I hope
Yeah.
to do some
Tonight,
here
yeah.
while we're in Vegas.
Okay. Okay.
What about you?
I'm a so we just moved from Illinois to Denver for a better lifestyle. So we live in Highlands Ranch now, and I'm a mountain biker, a fly fisherman, and a hunter. So
Oh, you got to come out and visit.
yeah.
So we've got in our office, we've got hunters, fly fishermen. I just haven't quite caught on yet, but
God, you gotta try fly fishing. It's so amazing.
gone once.
Yeah, it's just
It was fun.
it's I keep trying to I want to really get my wife to do it to just experience like the serenity of being on the river, just casting. Like you don't even have to catch anything. Just the serenity and almost like the zen of fly fishing. It just puts you in a different frame of mind.
Give it another try. Alex, thanks for sitting down and talking
Oh,
with
this
us,
was a
man.
pleasure. This was great. I
Yeah.
look forward to doing it again.
Right on. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Routing for Success is brought to you by AP Equipment Financing. In today's competitive market, it is essential to acquire the right trucks at a fair price and finance them in a way that makes sense for your business. Leveraging their extensive network of truck and van suppliers, the experts at AP Equipment Financing will help you locate the best deals on step vans, cutaways, panel vans, and more. Deliver them straight to your facility and finance them with low monthly installment options. Click the link in the description or visit apfinancing.com for more information. Routing for Success is an independent production of AP Equipment Financing and is in no way affiliated with or endorsed by FedEx Corporation, FedEx Ground, Amazon, or any other logistics company discussed herein. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Routing for Success.